What's up, my stats stars? I have a brand new calculator for you that I think is going to help you tremendously as you take AP Statistics this year. It's called a Numworks calculator. It's absolutely amazing. And what I want to quickly do right now is show you some really cool things it could do to help you in Unit 1 of exploring one variable data. So let's dive into how you can use this calculator right now. And if you like it, then you can actually purchase one of these calculators with a 10% off discount code. All you gotta do is use the link in the description of this video and you'll get a 10% off the calculator. But let's dive into some of the really cool features because I think that's what's gonna make you realize you need one of these Numworks calculators. So one very common thing you're gonna be doing in AP Statistics Unit 1 is analyzing one variable quantitative data, right? So a set of numbers basically, right? And the Numworks calculator does such an amazing job with this. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna use probably the big app for Unit 1, that's the Statistics app. So you're gonna hit your home screen, go to Statistics, hit OK. And the first thing is, notice across the top we have three kind of big tabs. We have Data, Graph, and Stats. So of course we're gonna go to that Data tab to actually enter in our data. So I just put in 25 data values here and type them in one at a time, goes pretty quickly. Now, once you're done typing them, what you wanna do is go over to the Graph. And it's going to ask you, do you want a histogram, a box plot, a cumulative frequency, or a normal probability plot? The big ones that you would probably learning about in Unit 1 when it comes to quantitative data is a histogram and a box plot. So let's quickly go to that histogram real quick here. And look, it's a beautiful histogram, almost instantly. It looks gorgeous. But you could also do a couple little changes. You know, you could move your cursor from bin to bin or interval to interval or bar to bar, whatever you want to say. And it will tell you the interval length, in this case 22 to 27, so it's 5 units wide. And it tells you the frequency, how many counts were in it. And then it also gives you the relative frequency as well. And that is the 12% of the data that fall into that bin. But if you're like, well, I don't really like these bins, you could always go to the tabs here, the sub-menu to settings, click on settings. You could change the bin width and you could change where it starts. So maybe you want to start at 0 and for whatever reason, maybe you want your bins to go by 6s instead of 5s. The 5s kind of sounds nice, but just show you how you could change it up. And now we have a slightly different looking histogram here because we changed our x-axis, but pretty cool. And again, you can move that cursor from bin to figure out the relative frequency, the frequency, and the actual size of it. Really, really cool. And the nice feature here as well is you can also go back to type and you can even change it to a box plot. So you can take a look at a box plot here and it labels your min, your Q1, your median, your Q3, and your upper whisker. Now, I didn't say max because notice there's two outliers there. So yes, it shows outliers. How cool is that? Makes it instant. You don't have to do any adjusting to anything like that. But of course, you do have that sub-menu here where you can go ahead and change the type. You could specify not to display outliers. In AP Statistics, we do like to show outliers. But if for some reason you don't show outliers, you could obviously go and do that. Really, really cool. And the last tab up here at the top is for statistics. This is where you're going to find all of the statistics that describe this particular sample. Now, I don't want to explain too much content in this video, but if this data represents a sample, then all of these pieces of information are statistics. If the data that I entered in represent a population, then these would all be parameters. So first here we see all of our big important pieces of information. We see the minimum, the first quartile, the median, the third quartile, the max is that 5-number summary. It calculates the range for you. It calculates the interquartile range, Q3 minus Q1. Now, again, this is where it's important to understand if this was all of our population. This was the data we entered in was an entire population. Then we have mu, the population mean, and sigma, the population standard deviation, and the population variance. But for most cases, you don't have the population. What I entered here was just a sample of data. So then we're going to be looking at the sample mean, X bar, the sample standard deviation, S, and the sample variance. It also gives a couple other things you might use for some more advanced stats, but really, really cool features. Now, another thing that comes up in Unit 1 is how changing or adding data values affects your data, affects your statistics. So another cool feature here that makes it really nice is we could go right back to our data. We could go ahead and say, oh, that outlier, that max of 100, that was actually, I typed that in wrong. That was supposed to be a 10. I accidentally typed in an extra 0. And then you could quickly go back to your graph and see how the entire graph is going to change, whether it's your dot plot there, or we could actually go back to the type of graph we have here and change that to a histogram. And we see how that histogram is going to change a little bit because of that value added. We could also go to the menu for statistics and see how our mean and our median are going to change as well. So it's really, really cool. We see that the mean, notice the mean went down because we took away a really high value and we added a fairly low value. So that's going to make the mean go down. But all those kind of cool things that you learn about in Unit 1 and how the statistics respond to data being changed or added, you could see it all live. Beautiful graphs. Absolutely love how the Numworks calculator does this. It makes graphing quantitative data really, really nice and really, really pretty. So go ahead and use the coupon code in the description of this video to get 10% off, and you can get one of these calculators at a really good cost at home.